In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your host, Sean. Alex is out this week. We are going to be talking about the absolute heartbreaker Chicago Bears game. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is going on right now. There's some really cool stuff going on with the holidays, so make sure you head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Oh, man. I have gone through like 8 ranting sessions already since the end of the game to when I'm recording this on Sunday night, and I'm just fed up. I don't know what else to say. I'm just fed up. And I'm going to start from the top on all of this. One, ownership of the Chicago Bears is an absolute joke. Absolute joke. They might be perfectly nice people. They're incompetent at running a football organization. It's an absolute clown show. So with the ownership, you have to look at them like they are children and they don't know what they're doing. It's like you put a child in a trench coat and gave him a briefcase and sent him into your office to do a work. It's not going to go well. You need adults around them making sure they don't make bad choices. But how do you get them to the right choice for that leadership? Kevin Warren has built an NFL stadium before. They hired him to help shepherd this process, and it is not going well. Is he the right adult in the room? I don't know. It's not looking good, though. Ryan Poles. I know a lot of us were on with Ryan Poles and riding along with him at first. And when he fleeced the Carolina Panthers in the pick that sent Bryce Young to Carolina, we went, wow, we're really on board with this guy. And then slowly but surely, people have gotten off the Ryan Poles train. And I am at the point now where I've fully entrenched in the Ryan Poles needs to go camp. He's not strong enough to handle this organization and all of the nonsense that goes along with it. You need an ass kicker. Somebody that's going to put the McCaskies in their place and say, listen, you're the owners, but you have to let me run this organization. And I don't think Ryan Poles has that power. I think he bends to them because there's no way, unless he's just incompetent too, I'll start right off the bat. Do I think that he hired Matt Eberflus 100% on his own? No. I think Ryan Poles was given a short list of candidates he could hire. And Ryan Poles made the choice from that list. I fully know that happened. But we're at the point now where I believe Matt Eberflus has lost 30 of the 44 games he's coached as a Chicago Bear, which is absolutely ridiculous. You can't have that. That's just an abysmal record. But you had the opportunity last year, and I keep harping on this week after week. You had the opportunity to move on from Matt Eberflus, and nobody would have batted an eye. Nobody would have been like, you know what? That's the wrong call. You had the opportunity to do that and match year one with year one of a offensive-minded head coach to pair with your rookie quarterback, your number one overall pick, the one that you were trying so hard to give a soft landing to. And what did you do? You gave him a shit landing. Yeah, you gave him weapons, but you gave him an absolute dog shit offensive coordinator, a dumbass head coach, and no offensive line. And that's what you gave him. So I don't know if I'm saying flat out, I don't trust Ryan Poles to be able to fix the situation that the Bears are in. Flat out, I don't. He has a bad track record on the offensive line. He had a top 10 pick at right tackle, and how has that panned out? Meh. Left tackle has not been good. He signed a big money free agent right guard. He had a guard that was playing right guard that was playing at a really good level last year. Tevin Jenkins played great last year, and you signed another right guard and decided to move Tevin Jenkins to the left side. That was a bad move. So you made that bad move, and you ended up, instead of having, filling your guard spots, you left two gaping holes because Tevin Jenkins hasn't been very good at all at the left side. Just has not been good, and he's been injured. And Nate Davis has been he's been a ghost. So he's gone. You got rid of him, and the center position has been terrible. I know you wanted Ryan Bates, but he's been hurt. And you have Coleman Shelton, who has been bad. Can he call the schemes? I don't know, maybe. I can't tell you there. But can he block anybody? Absolutely not. He's bad. So Ryan Poles has his hands all over this. Left tackle is the only one that he hasn't touched. He touched the right tackle. He touched right guard. He moved right tackle to left guard, or right tackle to right guard to left guard. And you brought in all the backups, and you brought in the centers, and it just hasn't worked. So how am I trusting you to fix this offensive line? How am I trusting you? You are on year 3 as a GM, and you are on how many? Your third offensive coordinator? Like, how do I trust you with picking offensive coordinators? You brought in a lame duck defensive head coach who talks with stupid acronyms and makes dumb nicknames for everybody, and that's who you decided to keep as your head coach. It's the McCaskies want people on this staff and in this organization that they think are good people. And I get that. Like, it's nice to have nice people you like, people you enjoy going into work on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, this is a results-oriented business. And if you want winning championships, if you want to win games, you need somebody that's going to have fire in there. That's going to be, that's not going to be just Mr. Nice Guy. You have to have an ass kicker in there. Look at Dan Campbell with the Lions. Dan Campbell came in there. That was a trash team. And here's the thing with an organization. Let me back up for a second. Why the Bears are failing is because they're a loser franchise. And they want to magically turn them into a winning franchise. But there's a step that's being missed, and you can't leapfrog the step. The step is you have to get rid of being a loser franchise before you can become a winning franchise. And the Bears can't shake that loser mentality. You need to go into that building and do something. It's not just something, oh, we just put in talent and suddenly we win. No, you have to learn how to stop being losers. You have to shake that out of the building. Get a broom and some incense and chase that away. You have to do something to get rid of that loser mentality in that building. You have to. Going back to Dan Campbell with the Lions, they were a loser franchise. They were an absolute loser franchise. And he went in there and he's like, no, fuck this shit. We are not going to be a loser franchise. And just because you stop being a loser franchise doesn't mean you start winning. You can be losing football games and still be a loser, or still not be a loser franchise. It's going out there and being competitive and having heart and changing the way you practice. You practice to perfection. And sure, you could still not have all that talent, but if you're going out there and you're competing and you're playing hard and you're fighting it out, that makes you not a loser franchise. And Matt Eberflus is not doing that. So Dan Campbell came in there and right off the bat chased the loser mentality out of that building. And then with the general manager and his coaching staff, they brought in better players and they laid the foundation for a winning program by first getting rid of that loser mentality. And the Bears are trying to skip that step. And it's not working. It's just absolutely not working. You can't skip that step. And I don't know, you listen to Matt Eberflus and I don't know what he's doing. Like, does he seem like a likable enough guy? Yeah. It's not nothing personal, but he's doing nothing to get rid of that mentality. And you've heard players, they're not practicing hard. They're not, there's no detail orientation. They're not doing the things to win. And part of that is sure, like Matt Eberflus can be like, oh, well, they're coming back in the locker room and they're competing hard and we had a good week of practice and these guys are they're fighting for each other, they're fighting for their brothers and blah blah blah. Like that's all talky. Is you've got to get rid of that mentality, and he's not doing that, and Ryan Poles is not doing that. You've got to take charge and you've got to set the tone. You've got to make things your way. And it's not there. You listen to Matt Eberflus talk. And he's like, well, I want to bring in teachers in here. They're professionals. They're grown men. You're not teaching. You've got to go in there and you've got to mold. And you've got to lay the foundation for this is what our expectations are. And this Bears team, they're not getting rid of that loser mentality because you look at how undisciplined they are. Look at how many drops there are. Look at how many illegal shifts there are. How many false starts there are. How many offsides are there. This team has so many pre-snap penalties and so many drops. They're so undisciplined. This is not a team that has shaken that loser mentality. And 3 years in, Matt Eberflus should have chased that out of the building. If they're losing games, but they're playing with heart and, just things aren't going their way and all right, I get it. It's the NFL. It's hard to win. But they're still going out there with that loser mentality. When you go out there and you lose play on a blocked kick, when you go in and you have all these pre-snap penalties, and when your touted defense on one play gives up 60-some yards to get them right in the game to score the game-winning touchdown. Like, that's loser mentality. That's not prepared. Like, Matt Eberflus should have already been fired. Just the facts. He should have been fired. It is malpractice that he is still the coach of the Chicago Bears. Plain and simple. And if he comes back next year, I might have to go fight Ryan Poles in the parking lot of Hallis Hall. I don't know what else to do. So you don't have the adults in the building to overcome what the McCaskies are. Children in adult clothes. You need that in there. You need guys in there that are going to come in there and shape this as a real football team with real preparation. Bill Belichick, you weren't going to go in there and not be prepared. Bill Belichick was going to have you prepared. Sean Payton is going to have you prepared. Dan Campbell's going to have you prepared. And I don't think Dan Campbell is like a brilliant X's and O's guy, but he sets the tone in that building, and his coaches coach well, and they've built a winning formula over there. I don't know what Ryan Poles is building. Do I think he drafted the right quarterback? The jury's still out. I think so, but the jury is very, very much out. Rome Odunze looks like he's going to be a good one. I think he's going to be a good one. But you look at other positions, Ryan Poles has not had a good track record with drafting offensive linemen. You look at every wide receiver he's drafted that's not named Rome Odunze has been bad. We got rid of Velus Jones. And also the dumb thing is somebody tried to trade for Velus Jones and you didn't take him up on it. Instead, you brought him on your team and then cut him anyway. Cut him for nothing. Like, that's the type of dumb shit that makes you lose. Byron Scott has been a bad pick. Like, you've got to be better. You've got to be better with your draft picks. You have to be better with your signings. You have to be better with the coaches that you pick. You helped hand pick your offensive coordinator, the second offensive coordinator in 3 years for your new head coach, and you did a bad job. You did a bad job. I don't know what else to say. You had to fire him midway through his first season. Did you have to get Mrs. McCaskey's permission before you did that? I don't know. I don't know what you did. So you ended up firing your offensive coordinator, which was justified. But you promoted one of your coordinators to play caller. And honestly, you look at that and how did that resolve itself? I think the Bears, you look at it, you're in the middle of a season. You're not in a bye week. The playbook is the playbook at this point. You're not going to implement a new offense until the offseason. But I don't think it's so much the playbook that Shane Waldron had, because he's built upon the Sean McVay tree and things from his time in Seattle. I think the playbook was probably fine. It's the execution and the play calling itself. So the cadence and the sequence of the plays, the down in the distance when you're calling these plays, and the practice and execution of the plays. So Shane Waldron was constantly making the wrong play call out of a playbook that's perfectly fine. It's so Thomas Brown, who was one of the coordinators, gets promoted up, and he was in a similar position last year with Carolina. when they fired a coaching staff mid-year, he got promoted up to be the interim offensive coordinator, coaching a bad offensive line with a rookie quarterback, and it didn't go so hot. And, to be fair, Carolina was in a much different situation than the Bears are right now. But week one of this transition, I'm going to have to give Thomas Brown a B-. He went in there and he looked and learned from where things didn't go right the week before. He goes, all right, our quarterback got sacked 9 times. We can't have our quarterback get sacked 9 times. That's not good for his physical or mental development, and it's not good for us as far as winning football games. So he went in and he was like, let's make quick passes. Let's not hold the ball. Let's try to establish the run. And he did. I think the running game was decent. And Caleb Williams was getting the ball out quick. His accuracy was better than it has been in the last few weeks. Doesn't turn the ball over at all. I think the play calling was fine. And at the end of the game, you march down and you put yourself in a position that 9 times out of 10, you're probably winning that game. So I can't fault him. And they had, I think the sequencing was good. And I think for the most part, you tried, part of the problem with the Bears offense is so many penalties, so many negative plays that you end up putting your young quarterback in a struggling offense already in 3rd and long. And that's just a recipe for disaster. You can't win football games with a rookie quarterback, a bad offensive line, and a bad scheme when you've put yourself in such a hole. So they tried to keep the sticks moving. They tried to establish the run, get short plays going, and keep those chains going and not put themselves in 3rd and long when the defense can just tee off on you. So I think that they did a good job there, and I think they can, maintain some drives and did some good things. And, I was pretty happy. I don't want that as a long-term solution going forward, but to keep me from jumping off a bridge watching these games, I don't think it was so bad. Let's see. Caleb Williams, I thought he looked pretty good. There was a few bad passes in there, but he did so many good things with his legs to keep the Packers off on their heels and moving the chains. My favorite part is when you had the drive that you needed to score to win the game, end of the 4th quarter, very little time left on the clock. And we know what happened in the past with Justin Fields. Those would be 3 and outs, or he'd take a sack, or there'd be a fumble, or he'd throw an interception, and you'd never get that opportunity because you just failed miserably. And Caleb Williams comes in there, and he is cool and calm and collected, and he marches down the field and gets them in the position to kick a field goal, and it just doesn't work out. Back to Eberflus. Matt Eberflus is so abysmally bad at clock management. Just so bad. You saw it in the first half where time is just running down. And in the second half, you get down and it's a 47 yard field goal, something around there. And I'm screaming. So I couldn't watch it at home. My daughter had some things today, so I was driving around, but I was sitting waiting for my daughter, and I was watching on my phone, and I'm just screaming, keep picking up yards. Don't kick it from this far. And it's not that I don't think Cairo Santos could kick it that far, but the closer you are, the more accurate you're going to be. And you're looking at a kicker who is phenomenally good. I think that Reddy was like 70 for his last 70 inside 40 yards. They're playing prevent defense to try to stop you from going into scoring. You're running out of time, but what do? You run it down so low, and you don't even you kick it on what I think second down. Why wouldn't you try to get the ball closer? It's Matt Eberflus, coach is scared. Like, I don't understand, these lame duck coaches. Matt Eberflus has to know he's getting fired at the end of the year, right? You have to know. Why don't you take off the training wheels at that point? Put on your big boy pants and be like, you know what? If I'm losing, we are gonna be so aggressive at every turn. That just boggles my mind. John Fox did it, Matt Nagy did it, Matt Eberflus is doing it. Don't get more conservative when you are, your job is essentially gone anyway. It's just go out there and be free, be aggressive, maybe learn something about, the game and yourself. And, do you ever want a position like this again? Then maybe you should just find out what it's like to be aggressive with no consequences. Had they been aggressive and taken the things that were underneath, maybe take that opportunity to get DeAndre Swift in some space. You had plenty of time. You could have worked the middle of the field. And if you get that down to like a 30-yard field goal, that changes the launch angle. And even if the Packers bust in there, it's way harder to block because you're changing the way that you launch that launch angle. So I just, this is on Matt Eberflus. His like I said, that taunted defense gave up that huge play where there was no help for Jalen Johnson and he trips, and I still don't know if that was a catch. And the frustrating part is the refs are taught in a play like that is to make the call on the field to keep the play going. But then how do you overturn it if it's too close for irrefutable evidence of overturning it? So it's a double-edged sword, and it worked really in favor of the Packers. And that's that. Matt LaFleur is a very aggressive coach and a very good coach, and he had good protection for his quarterback, and his guys found ways to get open, and the Bears just can't do that. They can't match up with that. And every week you go in a game, when has Matt Eberflus ever outcoached somebody? He hasn't. Even when the Bears have won, I don't think he's outcoached anybody. And that's a problem. And you look at the Lions, and they are just cruising. So if you're the Bears, you're done. You're cooked. The season is pretty much over. You've just got to make the move. So make the motions of going through the rest of the season. So I don't understand why you're going to be cowards about it. Be aggressive. Go for it. Go for gusto. If you're going to lose, go out in a blaze of glory. Nah, not the Bears. They're going to go out with a whimper and a bang. And it's just really sad. And you listen to Tom Brady talk, and he's talking about on this last drive, the Bears can't go backwards. And what do? Both first down, second down, they move backwards. and the offensive line just couldn't hold. It's just stupid sad. And, I'm just fed up with this coaching staff. What else can I say? Like, you listen to Matt Eberflus and you could say, oh, he's not been outcoached, but he really has. You look at the Washington game. He was asked about the play before the Hail Mary, and Matt Eberflus didn't even think about it. But I think that was Tony Romo announcing that game. Tony Romo called it, and Quinn, the coach of the Washington football team, afterwards he talked about it too. That play before the Hail Mary was really important in setting up the Hail Mary. If that big chunk of yards made the Hail Mary a reasonable, or not a reasonable one, but a much more likely one. If you were throwing it from 15 yards back, it makes it a whole lot harder of a play. And the Bears didn't realize that at all, and didn't have the right personnel in there to defend this. And again, their players were undisciplined and not doing what they were supposed to do. So it's just frustrating that this team doesn't show up to play. And there's a stat that I wanted to share. Let me find it here. Here we go. Since 1940, the Bears are 101, 24, and 2 when they have 0 turnovers on offense and have created a turnover on defense per stat head. So 101 wins, 24 losses, and 2 ties since 1940 in games where they've turned the ball over 0 times themselves and had a plus in the turnover battle. 3 of those 24 losses have come in the last 3 weeks for the Bears. So under Eberflus, you have had, 3 or 4 absolutely historic level losses. 4 or 5 maybe. You've had a bunch of just absolutely, historic losses. And now you're not winning when you win the turnover battle. Jordan Love coughed it up in the end zone. And Jordan Love just marched up and down the field for the most part. Is sure, the scoreboard looked like, oh yeah, they kept the Packers in check. No, not really. For the most part, they just marched up and down the field. Almost at will. And you saw that with the final touchdown. Just at will. Marched down the field. The Bears had difficulty stopping the run. And they have no pass rush. Pass rush was invisible. So your defensive head coach is not coaching a good defense. And he's certainly not coaching a good offense. So I don't know what his purpose is here, other than you just never fired a coach midseason. I just don't know what else to say about this. You're on your second offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, your third offensive coordinator in 2024. Your third. Because in January 1st, Luke Getsy was still your offensive coordinator. You fired him, and then you hired Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron was fired in November, and now you have a new interim offensive coordinator. So three offensive coordinators in 2024 for the Chicago Bears. And you think Ryan Poles shouldn't be fired too? It was malpractice for you to bring back Matt Eberflus. And here's the thing, is a report came out that the Bears don't like to bring in too strong a voice. And that's why you didn't have Jim Harbaugh even in the radar, because Jim Harbaugh is not a wallflower. Jim Harbaugh is going to be aggressive. And the Bears don't want that. They want a nice guy that's going to be calm and keep the peace. And it's like the inmates are running the asylum. Let's move on a little bit here to next week's schedule. Is next week you've got the Minnesota Vikings, who are currently second in the division. And they were previously undefeated, but they've come back down to earth, which I think we all expected. And they don't look the same as they did, but still they're significantly better than the Bears. And you're going to need a better effort. And the one thing I can say is that the Vikings don't have that voodoo magic over the Bears like the Packers do. So I think it's a possibly winnable game, but you've just got to play smarter. Offensively, if they can keep moving like they did today and maybe add in some deep passes, because they really didn't take a lot of deep shots, or any deep shots that I remember. Maybe just the one, but there was very few deep shots. Is maybe try to take advantage of the Vikings and hit one over the top. On defense, it's going to be a tough sled, because that offense of Minnesota can really put up points when they want to, and they run a mean game. So if you're the Bears, you're really going to have to try to take away the run, and have them try to beat you with the pass. But that's playing with fire, because if you're not getting pressure, you're going to get picked apart. So the opening here of the division play has just not started off good. And then, we kind of glossed over it a little bit, but going back to the game, is it ended on a blocked field goal attempt. And I read a quote from it was attributed to the special teams coordinator for the Packers. And during the week, he said, "We're going to block a kick on them. Watch." And apparently they saw something on the tape that made them think they could block a kick on the Bears. And sure enough, they did. So it's, again, being outcoached. And it would be awesome to be able to bring in a head coach for the Chicago Bears that can outcoach another team and give you an advantage, and one that's runs this team to a winning record every year and makes you competitive. We just don't have that, and I don't know if I trust the Bears to bring in one of those guys. I just can't anymore, I think, with the Bears. This is going to be a short episode. There's really no baseball talk. The Blackhawks, they've been so frustrating. I was hoping to see improvement, and I don't feel like I am. Maybe record-wise, you're ahead of where you were last year, but you're just like the lines. They're going through lines, like a sick person goes through Kleenex. They just keep shuffling, and you're not getting that consistency. And I get you're trying to find a spark, but the Blackhawks head coach, he's somebody I was like, all right, I kind of like this guy, but when they had no talent, he was finding ways to coach hard and things. But as they're starting to add a little talent, you should see some progress. And I don't think you are. I really don't think you are. Even Connor Bedard is kind of in a rut. I don't know what's going on, but I would hope that the Blackhawks would, as an organization, try to, make that change again and bring in somebody that is maybe a better fit for this organization, because I don't know if this is the right fit with team and head coach. Bulls, the Bulls are the Bulls, And Josh Giddey, who the first few games of the season, I was like, I'm this guy's growing on me. I kind of like this guy, and I don't understand why he got benched in Oklahoma City. And then suddenly now you're seeing it, and he's not playing well. He went from, a guy that was pushing the floor and was being a floor general and putting points up and getting some rebounds to, it's like it just, the switch went off. So I don't know. This Bulls team is frustrating. Chicago sports in general is just frustrating. And is it too much to ask for one good team? And on top of that, you've got the rollout of the CHSN, the Chicago Sports Network, their mobile app. And, geez, number one, you can't watch the app on a smart TV. It's only for mobile. Only for mobile. So if you're at home and you're like, I want to watch this on my big screen TV instead of on my little tiny phone, now doesn't work like that. You need an antenna at that point. So it's like, has there been a worse rollout of a sports network? You can't get on in the two biggest cable providers in the area. You're telling fans like, oh, you just got to hook up an outside antenna onto your big TV, like it's 1986. And then, you try to do a PR campaign. Nobody's buying into that. It's been such a bad rollout. So bad. It's been as bad as Matt Eberflus's tenure as coach of the Bears. So, yeah. Sorry this is a short episode, and sorry this is such a negative episode. It's just me sitting in a room by myself because, my partner is out having fun tonight. So it is just me flying solo, nobody keeping me in check, just ranting like a crazy person. I'm in here like Charles Manson. Like, but I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Thank you all so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That will grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter /X, and AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, bear down.
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like... Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears! Oh, when the Bears go bearing down